That Blind Tech Show with Brian Fischler, the fabulous Brian Fischler, with co-hosts from across the nation. That Blind Tech Show.
Welcome to That Blind Tech Show. That's right. My voice may sound familiar, but this is an all-new show, a new venture. Some of you may recognize my voice from the podcast iAccess VO. Unfortunately, we had a good run with that show, and when one door closes, another door opens, and now we've got That Blind Tech Show. We're so new, we don't even have theme music yet, but don't worry, it's coming. But no, That Blind Tech Show, we're going to have a series of co-hosts who will be joining me. We don't even have a recording schedule down yet, but we'll be coming to you at least once a month, probably twice a month, if not more. And we're just going to have a series of co-hosts that are doing great things with technology, people that you've heard from in the past. And we'll be talking all things tech, some things not tech. We'll hopefully be breaking some new tech news to you. And we're called That Blind Tech Show. And of course, we're on Twitter. On Twitter, we're Blind Tech Show because we couldn't fit the that in there. So on Twitter, we are at Blind Tech Show. And of course, we've got email up and running. If you want to email us in and you have a suggestion for the show or some tech you want to know about, please do email us in at thatblindtechshow@gmail.com. And all of this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for a man that all of you, of course, are familiar with, a man that I've always been a big fan of, a man who reached out to me and brought me into his home at Blind Abilities, Mr. Jeff Thompson. And, of course, Jeff is our first co-host. How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Brian. Great introduction, and That Blind Tech Show. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, little homage to that 70s show. Hopefully they won't sue us.
Did they sue back in the 70s?
I don't think so. I think they just whacked you and moved on, you know? Ask Jimmy Hoffa. What happened to him? That was in the 70s, wasn't it?
He's still missing.
You know, it's funny because supposedly Jimmy Hoffa, not to get off the tech topic, but supposedly he was buried in Giants Stadium. The only problem is the Giants moved and built a new stadium, so I guess that means he'll never be found.
Nope, they won't find Jimmy Hoffa, and they haven't found him, but now you can find That Blind Tech Show, the Blind Tech Show on Twitter. I'm just excited for you, Brian.
Yeah, nice segue, by the way. That was kind of sweet and everything. I'm excited too, and there's a lot of rumors out there, for people that aren't in the podcasting game, that a lot of us podcasting blind tech people don't get along. And, for most of us, it can't be further from the truth because you and Pete Lane and Nick and I, we've always gotten along. So I don't know where those rumors come from. Have you heard those rumors?
I just look straight forward and, what we want to do and what, your ideas and all that stuff. I just like the whole thing and I just keep moving forward. I don't let the shrapnel or anything like that bog me down and just keep moving with the vision,
That's great. That's great. And, I was debating, when iAccess VO ended, I didn't know if I wanted to continue podcasting. And then, I had both you and Pete reach out to me most very graciously. And, what you guys were offering was exactly what I was looking for. And, hopefully we'll be able to continue bringing some exciting news along with some entertainment and some levity to our blind and low vision friends out there. And I was very excited the other day because, it's rare that I download an app and it's, very exciting. But I could not believe when I read about Microsoft's Seeing AI and I downloaded it and I was absolutely blown away. It was, for those of you not familiar with this new app, and by the way, if you do want to get Microsoft Seeing AI, just type in Microsoft. It's about the 7th result. It'll make your life a lot easier. For some reason, typing in Seeing AI doesn't seem to pull up any results. But this is an app that's brand new. Microsoft just released on the iPhone only, and it does so many things that it's really going to make your life easier. For example, it's got a short text mode where you just hold your iPhone and the light is on and you just hold it over any text and it starts reading to you lightning fast. Have you gotten a chance to play around with this new app, Jeff?
I actually did, and I was in an OrCam. I'm down here in Orlando at the NFP Convention. I was in an OrCam demonstration, and here I am. I just downloaded it. I turned it on. I went through the little processes, and that's probably the first thing that came up. And all of a sudden it started reading my iPhone I was using for a recorder. So I picked it up and it started reading the OrCam website, I guess on a sign or something, on a wall. And
That's
I'm thinking,
hilarious.
Yeah, the irony of me being at an OrCam thing, reading what they do. So it's like, wow, this stuff is all coming together,
Yeah, OrCam's a great product, and we'll get into that a little later because we are rushing this episode out because Jeff is down at NFB. So we're going to hope we get some breaking news to you or just more news about NFB and some of the exciting tech things that are going on down there. But yeah, the great thing about this new Microsoft app is it's got one mode for short text. Say you got a package. I had a bunch of boxes downstairs in my building, and one was for me. I just went from box to box and quickly read the labels, and instead of waiting for somebody to tell me which one was mine, grabbed it, or instead of using Be My Eyes, I quickly did it in a matter of seconds. What caught my eye was how fast everything was. It has a document reader that works just as good as KNFB. It does have product recognition, which is something I really haven't used, but I tested it out on a few canned products. And one thing, if you do download this app, each time you use a section, there is a little help thing. Make sure you close that first, because I was scanning these products and I wasn't getting any feedback or anything. I'm like, well, this works real good. Ends up I had to close that. As soon as I did, I found the barcodes very quickly. And it also had a more info screen where it had health information and stuff. So maybe now I'll start eating healthy because now I can read all that good information, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I hadn't used it as much as you had time. I've been pretty busy down here, but I was really intrigued by it. But you mentioned something, how you switched from channel to channel, and that's what they call the different tabs, I guess, but the different processes it does. How did you do that?
Yeah, it's funny. At first, I thought you had to go to the menu and do it, but no, they made great use of. I guess you consider that the actions, where at the top where it says short text, you can just quickly flick up or down to quickly get through the different settings. I believe they may have a money identifier in there, where I read that this works in a few countries. I did get a post from somebody in Ireland that says, unfortunately, the app is not available in the Irish App Store yet. So it will probably be coming to more and more countries. But they also have a facial recognizer, which I believe if you take a photo of somebody, you could save it and take to recognize that person. But honestly, Jeff, I can't see me walking around with my iPhone up in the air just trying to recognize somebody.
Oh, yeah. And, there was a scene detection, and I did it. I'm running the beta, and it crashed on that. So, it goes on set. I haven't tried it on my other I actually have an iPhone 6 that I call my iPod 6 because I don't have connection to it. But I was using that for recording down here, and I didn't want to upset the cart with by changing things around. And, if it was working, I'd just be on that all day.
Yeah, well, I can't get past the fact that you're in an OrCam meeting, and this is exactly what OrCam does for the most part. And here you are playing around with Microsoft's app, having it read the OrCam sign. That is absolutely classic.
I did not know what I was doing. All of a sudden it started reading, so I lifted it up and started reading, and I said, wow, maybe you could just, like you said, you went through 6 packages in a matter of, you were live. It's like streaming OCR.
Exactly. Yeah. By the way, you doing that OrCam thing reminds me of when I worked in the corporate world as a headhunter, and one of my clients was Coke, and we sent a guy out on a lunch interview for Coke, and at lunch, he orders his food, and then he says, "I'll have a Pepsi," and they ended the interview right there.
Boom.
Yeah, so you got to be careful nowadays. But you are down at NFB, and how has it been so far? Because it's about day 5 now?
Yeah, tomorrow is the banquet night. It all ends tomorrow. Exhibits are over now. So tomorrow it's all, it's huge. It's over 2,600 people, just under 2,700 people, I heard was the tally.
Blind people, huh?
Oh, I tell you, that we're talking canes, dogs, tapping, mushing, all sorts of stuff going on. And, at
Careful,
first,
this is a family show. So, you're talking about what? Oh, okay.
I tell you, it's interesting. This is my eighth convention. I used to work at Blind Incorporated, so I went to them successively, just one in a row. So I got used to it. But it's been a while since I've been. 2009, Detroit was my last one. So coming back into it, as soon as I came in and started hearing the tapping and the echoing, and you get 50, 60 people in an area just tapping, it all comes back. You go, I'm going in.
Yeah. So you won't be meeting people there that definitely don't like blind people because they would be outnumbered mightily.
It's great though. I met a lot of people, what it means to them, and they're here. A lot of people have high expectations, and they come here with them, and they want to have a good time. So when you can connect up with people in the same thought pattern, all that stuff going together, it's really a good time.
Yeah, and Jeff, if you have not heard it, Blind Abilities put out a great podcast from the first day of the convention, just of different people. Was it all first timers and what they were expecting from the conference?
Yeah, well, it was random people. I mean, you don't get to pick and choose sometimes, and you're just talking to people, and all of a sudden, boom, they got a story, a little story. And it was Nick D'Ambrosio up in Canada that said, hey, you should just randomly walk around to people. And I just went with it. I just went down there and just, hey, would you like to do a little audio thing we're doing? And, just talk to them. And, some of them are nervous, but they do it, and they all have a little tagline or a little story that, why they're there. And it was just short little clips, and we just blended them all together. It was kind of interesting.
No, it's fantastic. You can get it in the Blind Abilities app or download it through your podcast chooser of choice at Blind Abilities, where you will also shortly find that Blind Tech Show. Nothing like a little self-promotion. But now, Jeff, you sent me a list of a ton of amazing companies that were going to be at NFB this year, and I wanted to talk to you about a few of them to see what you saw, for lack of a better word, what you heard, and tell the great listeners out there what really excited you. And might as well start off with the company we just finished talking about, but Microsoft. What did Microsoft have to show off at NFB 17?
Well, it was really interesting. Microsoft was down there. They had an answer desk, there. And it was two people. And I talked to Jay. And, at first, Jay says, if you have any problems. Well, I did have a problem. I use the Mac, and I have Word for Mac. And if I would cut and paste something from the internet and put it over there. So he told me to go up into the menus and go down and turn off to retain the formatting. And he says that'll help. So that's something I'm going to try when I get back and give it a shot. That's what they were there for answer desks. They did have some Surface Pros down there that they were inquiring people to answer questions about and talk about. So they're feeling stuff out to bring it back to the shop and stuff. But the thing is, the Seeing Eye app came out, and like you mentioned that they released it on iOS, and he was saying that it's the most strongest platform out there for developers to develop something. It's going to work across the whole platform.
Yeah, and for those of you, even if you're a Mac guy like me or Apple homeboy like me, check out the Twitter account MSFT Enabled, which is Microsoft's account. They are putting out some pretty useful information and everything. And didn't you ask the Microsoft guy to see if he could demo the app on his phone for you?
He had a Microsoft phone, so he couldn't do it.
Can't do much with those phones, can you now?
But he did give me the Microsoft support phone number. It's 1-800-936-5900, and you can call there. Go to the website. You can go to the support and accessibility. Their link on there is just super long, like EN-US-, it keeps on going, so it's too long to just read off.
Yeah.
But you go there, and they do have little sections that you can go into, like if you want to talk about the iOS or if you want to talk about the Mac, and it's all deals with support for the accessibility. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, Microsoft, like I said, the last 2 years or so, they had really been doing some impressive things. One, I've been very impressed with the improvements narrators made. And I guess they finally got on board with hiring an accessibility team, and they're very open. I love Apple, but you'll never hear Apple say anything publicly about accessibility, or very rarely. And it's great that Microsoft has been so open and upfront. And I'll tell you, I was just blown away with this Windows Seeing AI and the fact that it was released on iOS. And the best part is it's free, so can't beat that. Now, unfortunately, something that's not free, but from what I understand, was the biggest hit of NFB 17 was Aira.
Oh, Yeah, I tell you, front row, and they even had a lounge right outside the exhibit hall, and it was the Aira Lounge, and that's where they had over 20 employees there. We're talking 20 employees. So we had a lot of these agents and handlers, kind of like, that would take people that wanted to demo it. They would set them up, explain to them how they use the AT&T MiFi, and they use the glasses, and they use the iPhone, and people could actually sit down, connect up to an agent, and just walk around that area. Some people went outside, and this one gal, she told me it reminded her when she let go of the cane and took a guide dog. She just felt free, just free to do stuff. And this was another tier for that. So it was really interesting, and I heard rumors that during that first day, whether it was from outside the convention or in the convention, they were getting a new Explorer, one every 8 minutes.
That's incredible. I on my previous show, I was, we had Suman on, who, you got to give him all the credit in the world for everything he's building. And, I've loved actually Aira, the concept. I have not personally gotten to test it out. Unfortunately, it's a little out of my price range. And I'm saying, Suman, and I know he's working real hard at this, please, just a little bit lower of a price range, man. If they come out with a $40 or $50 price plan, hey, I'm all over that. I mean, I the whole concept of, being able to find bus stops on my own. I'm that crazy New Yorker that's standing in the street where I can get close to where I want to go, whether it's a store or a bus stop. And then I'm sitting there going, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me. Somebody finally stops. And I say, where's the door to Citibank? And they say, right there. And I say, you're pointing. I'm blind. You're not helping me. So I don't know what it is, but sighted people be stupid. I don't know what it is, And Aira, though, everybody that's gotten it has nothing but phenomenal things to say about it. I'm looking forward to eventually getting it. And how about yourself?
My wife has reasonable accommodations to the state of Minnesota and has been accepted, and she'll be receiving hers when we get back. I don't know if it's going to be a couple days or another week out, but it went through the whole process. So reasonable accommodations. They got her the full package, so she can use them unlimited at work. And next year, they're going to guarantee by 2018 that they'll have the HEPA rights protected. So, privacy and all that stuff, that the agents will get certified to be HEPA approved type of deal. I don't have all the fine details on that. It's something that's in the works, but she was the first one to get it for reasonable accommodations through the state of Minnesota. So that's exciting. The other big news that dropped was, and Suman said it sooner than later, that the KNFB reader will be on the Aira platform.
Now, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the show The Bionic Man from the 70s? That's what I picture,
Yep.
like Aira, just making that sound and everything, and it is just an unbelievable technology. And Aira, Suman hit the jackpot here, and I know they've gotten some brilliant minds together on the board, and they get the pricing a little bit more affordable, and this is going to be a must-have for every blind person that truly values their independence.
And Brian, tomorrow, during his presentation at the NFB session, he's going to announce something about AI, the first two letters in Aira, artificial intelligence. So what's coming? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Just make sure not to throw any pickles at him if you don't like it. I don't know where that came from, but moving on, because we do have a lot of other great companies to get to. Another company that we were privy to a little bit of a private show, and they're doing some exciting things coming up soon, was OrCam.
Yes. OrCam. I was excited about them because they were up in Minnesota, and I've talked to them before, and I've seen the promise of this coming along. Facial recognition, reading from a distance, and, OCR at your fingertip, basically just pointing and reading and moving it around and stuff like that. And it's from a company from Israel, and they're pretty high tech and savvy. They get into the autonomous vehicles, all sorts of big stuff, but this is some project that they've been working on. And they came out to that private invitation. Thank you, Brian, for sending me that.
No worries.
And I got there, and this other news was breaking. KNFB on the Aira. Then we had Microsoft coming up with Seeing AI. And then I get there, and they have UPC recognition, barcode reading, color identification. And the wind in my sails was just like, ooh.
You had heard so many amazing things in the day already. So
oh, yeah. But I tell you what, They're not stopping. They're not stopping because Earl Harrison from Minnesota, he's the United States distributor of it. He has some promising things, like he looked across the street, a business area, and realized there were companies around. So they too are right in that area. And I think AI is the way things are going to go. Whether we get a lens to put on your own glasses or if Aira has the step up on that, which I think they kind of do right now. At least the hype down here shows that everyone's excited about it, especially with the agents, the real person agent right now.
I know the big thing with Apple right now is virtual reality or augmented reality. I'm not sure which one they're calling it. And that's right now we don't see, at least right now, we don't see any practicalities for us visually impaired. But look at this. I mean, Aira and OrCam, and these were realities 4 or 5 years ago. We never imagined that they'd be there. So I'm hopeful eventually that virtual reality, somebody somewhere will come up with something, and it'll be some 22-year-old who one day will be a college kid, and the next day he'll be a billionaire for coming up with it. So the future is definitely exciting. And one of the other companies that you were pretty impressed with was Orbit.
Orbit, APH, American Printing House. They came out with the Orbit 20, and I was let down. Now, I'm not knocking the product at all. I got there later because I had some other obligations that I had to do the day it opened. I knew they only had 20. I got down there at 11 o'clock, and Pete went in the doors at 8:30, and there's still 2 left. So I was like, why would there be 2 left, So, but this was a big deal, $449. I consider that in refreshable Braille field affordable. They've always been up in the 3,000 area, that range or something, out of reach for a lot of people. This brings it into reach. And a gentleman from AT&T, he's one of their guys that were down there, he had one. And I was talking to him, and he's reading like 300 words a minute and just cruising through the manual and just talking about how rugged and robust it is and the keys and the crispy Braille. But he said every once in a while a couple keys would stick, but he would just go back and forward and straight. At the speed he was going in, it didn't slow him down too much and all, but he said it's a really good machine. That's what he said.
Well, I'm impressed that companies like AT&T were there, and mainstream companies. It seems like there's a lot more mainstream companies appearing at these conferences nowadays. Now, AT&T, did you get to talk to them at all about their DirecTV apps and accessibility at all?
Exactly. I was talking to John, and he was he's in charge of that area, and he started out back in the early days, and kind of migrated up. And with DirecTV being a lot of them, the ruling that came down, some people went the easy route, but it seems like DirecTV, Comcast, and them made a good move. Even Amazon, all of them are moving in the right direction. He was saying that it's getting better and better. And now with him involved in it, I think he's been involved for the last year on this project. Just listening to what people are doing, he's totally blind. He gets it. I'm glad there's someone like that involved in it rather than people just listening and trying to figure out what we want. He's right there. So I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. And to our listeners, if you're planning on hanging up, don't, because you're going to want to hear our Cablevision story coming towards the end of the show. So hold on for that. But now another company that obviously was there was HumanWare. What new things was HumanWare showing off?
Y'all might have heard about the VictorStream Trek. And, that's the newest merging of 2 products, the VictorStream. It also will have Bluetooth, and then you got the Trekker GPS device on there. Now, it's quite innovative. It made me pause when I first heard it, I have to admit, because I didn't, unless I was going to navigate a library, it's a great book reader. It's a very good book reader, and it's a very dependable product. I love it. It's HumanWare's biggest seller, and they stopped the Trekker Breeze. So I get it. Where else would you attach it to? So that's what's there today.
I just can't see being enthralled in a great book, at the climax of the book, and turn left in 100 yards.
You might be on the yellow brick road. You never know.
Exactly. I imagine they anticipate probably most people will be using one or the other, but not the book reader and the GPS directions at the same time. Although if you're in a car and you want to listen to the route somebody's taking you to make sure they're not kidnapping you and you're reading a book, I guess that would be when you're using it at the same time.
To me, it's interesting. Some people are apprehensive. Some people are gung-ho because it's a new product. And, HumanWare has been putting out good products. So maybe it's not just like the Trekker Breeze was. Maybe it does more than breadcrumbs and, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The price point, I believe it was $5.99. And after it's distributed, it go up.
You know what? Rich blind people are so lucky. They get to get all the good toys.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that must be nice.
They also had the Brilliant 14, the iPhone companion. And Blinded Village, we did a thing with Greg Stilson.
The Brilliant 14, we wanted to come out with a small display, and I'm not sure if you know, but the Brilliant 32 is actually sold on the online Apple store. And we've been having many conversations with Apple about, a good companion device for the iPhone and things like that. And so this is really where the Brilliant 14 kind of fits. It's a really small device. I have it on my desk here. It's small. It fits in the jacket pocket, but it's got all the ergonomics and the thumb keys. And what I actually find really useful is we put a little joystick between dots 1 and 4, a little bit behind dots 1 and 4, and it's strategically placed there so that you can kind of do your typing, but then when you're using the iPhone, that joystick actually simulates the finger gestures as well, swiping gestures. So if you flick it right, it's like you swipe right on the screen. So there's almost no movement of your hands between the time that you're typing and the time that you're using that joystick to flick left, right, up, or down to navigate between items. Because oftentimes when you're using the iPhone, you're filling out a form or something and you need to type in a username and then swipe right and type in a password, that kind of stuff. So you can do all that without really needing to move your hands. Where this thing is really going to shine is the note synchronization. So we didn't want to just release another small Braille display. We wanted to bring something else to the table, and that was the note synchronization. I see sighted people when they go to meetings, they bring their notebooks and they take their notes and they go back and they write up some action items and stuff like that. And that's really what this notes function is for. It's like a little notepad for a blind person. But what's really cool about that is that it's got an embedded Braille translator. So we are using Duxbury, so you don't have to just write in computer Braille. It's not just a text file that you have to type in computer Braille. But it's actually using your email to synchronize the notes across all your platforms. So we have an app on the App Store called the Brilliant Sync app that you basically sign in with your email address and password. And so I have my Gmail tied to it right now. I could use Microsoft Exchange if I wanted to or whatever else. And you can go into a meeting, take your notes on your Brilliant. I don't have to have a pairing with my phone or anything like that. Take my notes. The next time I pair with my phone to send a text message or send an email or something like that, the notes that I just took will actually synchronize across any device that uses my email account. So, for example, the notes that I just took will synchronize to my iPhone Notes application. It'll also synchronize to my Microsoft Outlook under my Notes folder in my email account. So it kind of happens on the fly. You never know that it's really even happening. But all of a sudden, you'll look in your Notes folder or your Notes app on your phone and see that, oh, those notes that I took in that meeting are there. And if I want to edit them, modify them, things like that, you can do that on your computer or your iPhone or whatever. And then it'll sync back to your Brilliant the next time you pair up to send a text message or something. It's really designed for the mobile user. It's designed for the blind professional, the blind iPhone user. I mean, really, this device is for any iPhone user that's out there. I mean, we say iPhone, down the road we will have an Android app, but the reality is that something like 90% of blind people use iOS devices, and so we wanted to start there. That's kind of where we're targeting this product, and the price point is really it's really an available price point. It's going to be priced at $995 US for a 14-cell display. It's as far as I know, it's the first Braille display using the traditional Braille cells that's going to be priced below $1,000. It's the same cells that you'll find in the existing Brailliants or the Braille Note Touch.
And you got your thumb controls and...
You do, yep. We have the traditional HumanWare thumb keys. What's kind of cool about it is that on the back you have a switch that toggles you between what's called local application mode, the Notes app. There's also a stopwatch on this thing, and you have some internal settings and stuff. So if you flick that left, you'll get into your application mode where you can take notes without a connection to your iPhone. But if you do have a connection to your iPhone, you just flick that switch on the back to the right, and it toggles right into Braille terminal mode. And one of the things that we're also doing that's a little unique about this is we have a separate Bluetooth chip inside that's dedicated to only holding the pairing to whatever device you're connected to. So it's called a Bluetooth Low Energy module. Mm-hmm. And that allows us to always maintain the pairing to a device like the iPhone. This device with that low energy chip, you can pretty much be assured that it's always going to be paired up. This is a tool that I could see a lot of iPhone users wanting to use. The Braille Note is a much more heavy duty product. I mean, it's used by a lot of really young kids, but it's education focused, and it's really for the professional who wants to use a tablet device. The Brilliant 14, first off, it only has 14 cells, so it's much smaller and things like that. And it's meant to be used as a standalone device for note taking, but that's about it. And you're not going to get, the note taking is literally, Jeff, like writing on a piece of paper. There's no spell checker, there's no grammar check or any of that kind of stuff. It's literally just like you writing on a piece of paper.
Jotting something down, just bang, bang, you're done.
Exactly. And that's really what we want to do, is we want to make a clear definition between the higher end Braille tablet style of products and things like that, the ones that are going to be used for multiple things, because it's a tablet. That's what the Touch is a Google certified tablet. But we needed to have another device that is really designed for that mobile user, that user that's whose goal is to do these, everyday tasks like taking notes.
Instantaneously spontaneous.
Yeah, but you want to have a reliable device to use with your phone. If you plan on using your phone for the majority of your other stuff, then the Brilliant 14 is a perfect companion for that. So yeah, that's why we're able to kind of bring that as a much lower price point, and it's a nice package to be able to have your phone in your pocket and your Braille display in your pocket, and not need to carry a backpack or something over your shoulder.
People are excited for that. A lot of people that were at the convention are excited about refreshable Braille, and those were the big hits when you come to that area.
No, I've been following along on Twitter. It seems like a very exciting conference and a great time. I've yet to go to an NFP conference. I'm just not a fan of crowds, and yet I live in New York City, so go figure. But anything else that really caught your eye out in the vendor floor there at the convention?
Well, there's Brent Hardball. The Hardball Company was there with, a lot of gadgets and stuff. And Pete Lane needed a cord and went over there, and boom, there's a 6-foot cord or a 10-foot cord. Pete took the 10-foot cord, lightning cord. So it's like a little supply area. You need something. I bought a little backpack that has. Brent really strives on getting unique pieces, not the popular stuff off the shelves, and compete. It's hard to compete that, but he always has these unique things.
So we just got these in. This is new to the market. This is the new accessible portable battery, 15,000 milliamp. There's only one like it in the world. 6 inches long and 2.5 inches wide and less than an inch thick. So it's easily pocketable. And the great thing about it is everything on it is accessible in the way that it gives the feedback, is audible feedback and vibration feedback. You're going to get both tones and vibrations, or you can actually turn it to vibration only mode. This is the new accessible portable battery, 15,000 milliamp. That is a nice sized battery. That thing will charge an iPhone 5 to 7 times, charge an iPad a couple times, So, it's really a great little battery to have with you and take with you everywhere.
That's great. Well, Brent, how can they get a hold of you?
They can always take a look at our website and order them right on the website at www.harbboltcompany.com, and that's spelled HARB as in boy, OLT as in Tom, and then the word company spelled out, .com. Or they can also email us at sales@harbboltcompany.com.
check out his stuff. I always love neat little gadgets and stuff, and I'm gonna have to check out his stuff because I've yet to check it out and everything. And I'm always checking everything out on Amazon, the newest, neatest little gadgets and everything. And if I went to an NFB convention, I'd have to have a couple $1,000s in my pocket. It'd be like Vegas for me, I mean, you wanted to spend so much money.
Well, you mentioned Amazon, and Amazon had a booth there. And they had the Echo and the Echo Dot. They had a few of their other devices, their remote control Fires. They were there and they were a presence. They weren't selling anything, but, just go on to Amazon is basically what they would say. You mentioned these companies that are starting to show up. We had Sprint, we had AT&T, we had Amazon, we had Microsoft. So it's a very interesting time as more and more people are starting to look at accessibility and including us into their markets.
It's funny because when I was looking at the vendor list and I saw Sprint PCS, I didn't even realize they were still in business.
And they have a support desk for accessibility.
That's amazing, how many of these companies not only are making their products finally accessible, but also have support desks for when you have an issue, because no matter how good the product is, you're going to have issues. Technology is not perfect.
And there was a lot of other stuff there, a lot of individual, I'll just describe it to you. Picture a figure 8 block, and around the back area you have a lot of the states and their chapters and stuff, but around the perimeters you have a lot of the bigger companies. And Blind Alive was there doing their Eyes Free Fitness. And you mentioned this one time, 3D PhotoWorks.
Yeah, 3D PhotoWorks. Tell us a little about them.
Well, we did a podcast with them out in Washington, and they take museum artwork. They did a big thing up in Canada, but they take museum artwork like the Mona Lisa, and they do 3D prints of it. And they can make these things up to 10 feet tall. And they can also make them in sections and piece them together. And I was able to gently take my hands and find the features of the Mona Lisa, and you go to the smile, of course, but you can feel the hair, the curves of the shoulders and stuff. Her hands were crossed. And the other thing they have is like a map of South Carolina they happen to have there, where there's
let me stop you right there, because in full disclosure, for those of you who have never seen, I have seen, the Mona Lisa is one ugly woman. So everybody says this is great art. I'm like, I've seen it. I'm like, ugh,
It's the lure of her smile.
This is an early piece we did, and it converts the Mona Lisa to have length, width, depth, and texture. In fact, when you think about it, we took over where the artist left off hundreds of years ago. And today, you can tactilely explore not only her smile, but her hands and her hair and her face. And for the first time ever, people within the blind community can see the Mona Lisa.
And I'm right here, and these are hands. Her hands are crossed, I can tell, laying across each other, kind of. She's wearing like a shawl, robe.
Exactly.
Has a kind of a low neckline. Her hair comes up. There's her top, her nose, eyes, and there's the smile.
And people that have served as technical advisors to us and focus group members, it's very common when they get to the smile, they say to us, "That's not the smile I read about."
Oh, really? Well, no one knows the truth about that smile, do they?
Well, I don't know if they know the actual truth. They know the sighted community knows what the smile looks like, but to describe that in words correctly is difficult. But now people from the community can find out for themselves.
But with the 3D PhotoWorks, they also do state maps like you would see at a tourist place or something, where you can actually reach up and touch certain areas and find the beaches, the mountains, and they put audio description in there. So when you activate a sensor, so it's really neat, to actually touch the art. Usually you can't feel the art, but they actually ask you to touch the art.
Oh, that's great. No, they're doing great stuff. And just, so our listeners know, we are recording this before the final NFB evening and their resolutions come out. So I'm sure there will be something coming out of there that maybe not everybody's thrilled with. Maybe there will be something coming out everybody is thrilled with. But unfortunately, we're recording the night before that comes out, so you'll have to stay tuned if there's more stuff for us to talk about that. But there's been a lot in the news going on besides NFB. iOS 11 is the hot button topic, and Jeff, I know you've been running the beta on your phone, and we're not even sure what the non-disclosures are anymore. So overall, are you liking it? You hating it? You find it okay? What are your just general thoughts on iOS 11?
It works. It works.
That's good to hear.
Well, Brian, here's the thing. I have so much confidence in Apple over the last couple of years that I just upgrade. I don't think too much about it. And that's exactly what happened. I went back to the hotel room. I plugged it into my charger, and I have auto backup set up. So it doesn't really matter on the beta anyways, because I can't revert back to, it won't save my backups if I went back to 10 right now. So that's why I have a backup iPhone 6. I call it my OddPod 6 because it doesn't have cellular connection. But anyways, I just went through the process. It lit back up, and I just use it. And that's how I test it. I just use it like I do every day. And I'm an extensive iPhone user, so I'll catch something if it's changed or if it's a little bit different. And I just have all the confidence in the world. Now, if anybody is going to back up their phone, I highly suggest that you back it up either iCloud or to your computer, iTunes. And, if you're going to do it to iCloud for, I think, 99 cents, you can get 50 gigabytes. And for $2, you can buy into I think it's 200 gigabytes worth, or maybe it's $2.99 for 200 gigabytes of storage space. But you're just going to use it temporary, so you can cancel it if you just need to do it right away. And just back it up, and you have that. And then plug it in when you're going to do an upgrade, and there you go. So with all the confidence that I have in Apple, I just went through it, and it works.
That's great to hear. A couple of things that I've seen that really caught my eye. One of the things, I don't even know if I'm assuming you have not gotten to try this. I don't even know if it works yet in the beta that they're running. But in the Notes app, which I've never really used a lot, in iOS 11, you'll be able to scan documents, and it'll bring everything into the Notes app. I mean, that's like a KNFB reader to me.
No, it's not there yet. It takes a picture, it scans an item, and you can insert that into your notes. The thing is, it doesn't scan it and read it back to you. I was so confused that I actually brought it over to KNFB Reader and read it. So it does actually give you some location where you kind of got a good idea that you got it captured. It tells you to move back, move forward, and stuff like that. But it's not an OCR. It's a scanner. It just scans the document so you can insert it into your notes. Probably more so for sighted people than it is for us. But, if you're doing homework and you need to scan something, put it in something, someone could verify it. That's what it is to me. I will tell you that I haven't found, and I didn't check it yet, but have you ever used the Mail client in there, the native Mail client?
Of course, all the time.
Yeah, and you do a search because you're looking for something?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I haven't found it.
Really, I'm sure if it's not there, it's something that'll be in there eventually, which is why we don't want to talk too much about the beta, because it's not a final product, and we don't want to scare people that there's not. They have to have a search box, trust me. That's something I guarantee will be showing up in everything. Now, for those of you who have listened to me on my former show, you probably recall that I have a love-hate relationship with Siri, because Siri never gets what I'm saying right, which I've complained about for the year and a half that we did that other show. But anyway, one of the new features in iOS 11 that really interests me is type to Siri, because if it's not hearing me right and I could type in what I'm doing, that might actually work. Have you gotten to play around with that feature yet?
Siri and I get along really, really well.
It likes the Western accents better than New York accents. What can I say?
Brian, I went into settings and I went to general, then accessibility, and I went to Siri. And the thing is, when I have that engaged and I hit Siri, it just goes quiet for a while. And then finally it comes back on. So there's some something happening there. But, like you said, and the confidence that I have in it is it'll all be honed out by the time it's a publicly released. And that's what the betas are for.
Yeah, no. Well, that's a feature I'm interested to see how it works. Of course, it'll take me a lot longer to type everything than dictate anything. So we'll have to see, I mean, I don't know what it is with my dictation or Siri if I talk too fast, because I've tried talking slow and it still butchers. And I got to write down some of the things it thinks I said because it is absolutely laughable at times. I'm like, and I still get all the time when I'm using Siri, I'll be right with you. 1 sec, and I want to throw the phone out the window because what are you doing? You're here to help me and me alone. It just drives me insane. I don't want my AI to be that witty, I guess, and then tell me that they'll be right. It's kind of like you're in a restaurant. If a person says that to you, it's understandable. But when your Siri app says it to you, you just want to. It's hard to strangle an iPhone.
For $5, I would pay for Siri to be witty or Siri to be like cranky a little bit, to kind of match the mood that you're in.
That'd be kind of cool if you had like Siri Moods. Here we go, Apple. We just gave you a brilliant new idea. You have happy, sad, mad, depressed, and Jets fan.
Jets fan.
Yeah, there you go. But
you got to include a couple of those people.
Oh, definitely. They haven't won a Super Bowl since '69. What do you expect?
There was a gal down here, and she's a New England fan. Okay.
Oh, rough life.
Yeah. Exactly. And she's sitting next to Pete, and Pete talks about the team, and she kind of smacks him up a little bit. He smacks her back, and then he goes, "Well, Jeff's a Vikings fan," and she turns to Pete and says, "Well, at least they got a team."
Yeah. Wait, that's rough. When you say you're a Jacksonville fan, yep, that's the most you can say is, yeah, they've got a team.
Yeah.
With uniforms and everything.
Well, you're a diehard Yankees fan, and you wear it,
Did you hear about the 8-year-old Yankee fan?
Mm-mm.
He said the Yankees have not won a World Series in my entire lifetime. It's been a rough 8 years for us. But we're going to move on here because we'll be having a lot more, obviously, on That Blind Tech Show about iOS. But we've got a couple of other things we wanted to cover in this kickoff episode of that awesome That Blind Tech Show.
That Blind Tech Show.
Congress, finally, I've been waiting for this for about 3 years, finally approved MoreDescribed video hours from network TV per cable. You know what the improvement's been, Jeff?
What's that?
We're going from a whopping 5 hours a week to 7.5 hours of described video a week.
Wow. Is that overload?
Last time I checked, there were several hundred hours of TV viewing in a week. And, England, almost all of England's programs are described. And, the fact that we have Congress, and I would have loved to have listened in on how that conversation would come. Should we give the blind people another 2.5 hours of described video a week? I mean, at least it's something. So we got to be thankful for that. But the thing that pisses me off most about this, it's not going into effect until July 2018.
180 minutes.
Yeah. And some networks are great. Fox as well as the USA Network describe most of their shows, and then you got networks like CBS and NBC that do the bare minimum. So it really differs from network to network and everything. And it's at least it's something. And Congress, they're moving it forward, but I don't really see a time when every program is going to be described. And it doesn't make sense because most DVDs nowadays have described video. So you'd think television programs would get on board.
Or include it with it. Like you said, the thing is, to me, was that their goal? Is that what they're looking for when they're projecting their comprehensive plan, their outlook for the future is 18, let's give them 2.5 more hours?
I don't know. We'll have to get, in a future episode, we'll get a couple guests on that, down there in D.C. I've got a friend at the FCC, who's blind and an attorney, and we'll get him on a future episode. as well as a couple of other people of the audio description project that's doing, they do fantastic work, and they keep all the sites updated about what's described. If you're not familiar with the ADP project, it's something the ACB puts out. And they've got a list, for example, they have a list, and they update it, I think, monthly of all Netflix shows with described video. And I'm hoping eventually they'll have a list of all Amazon shows with described video, because for those of you that have Amazon Prime Video, they are now doing described video for their original programming, which is something that is only about a month or so new. So that's very exciting that Amazon is finally, and Amazon, I got to imagine they're going to eventually start releasing the movies with described video because they have the tracks from the DVDs.
Yeah, Brian, I have the Fire Stick and I have a Fire tablet. I bought one on sale just to give it a shot, and I used it when I flew over and watched Bosch. And I didn't have audio description then, but now they have it, and it just makes it so much more. It enhances the show, and that's what it's all about. And with the Fire Stick and using that on the TV, it comes with a remote control, and if you hit menu twice, then it opens up the menus where you can then go into your language and your English, and then set it for description, audio described. So you get that setting set, and you're off and running. It all works. They've really stepped up to the plate, and this makes it better for all of us.
Yeah, and described video, just so you know, is something that we'll be talking about often, because entertainment industry is my passion. I worked in the movie business out of college, and I do enjoy my entertainment. And I do also spend a lot of time sitting on my butt and watching stuff. So, we'll be talking about described video and the latest, greatest. And, a story that I really wanted to tell during the show was because a good friend of mine out here in New York, Jeff, we have a company called Cablevision. Are you familiar with them?
Cablevision, is that the WOR?
No. WOR is a network. Cablevision is a cable company that could be the worst cable company in the world.
The worst.
Well, December 10th, 2016, we had the deadline for all cable top boxes to be accessible to the blind. And, they laid out very simple terms, what this meant and everything. And Cablevision, we're 7 months into it, and they still don't get it, because a friend of mine has Cablevision. And the other day, a Cablevision operator came to his house to install their new accessibility package. And what he did was he gave him an Amazon Fire TV, and he installed the Cablevision app onto the Fire TV. Then they gave him an ancient Android phone, and to get the described video and the listings, he had to use the freaking Android phone. So he's got this huge dongle. He's like, and the guy couldn't even tell him how it worked. Cablevision, that's not what Congress is talking about. He's going to be filing yet another complaint at the FCC. Listeners, if your cable company has not provided you with an accessible cable top box, if they have not provided you with an easy way to get described video, the FCC does want to hear from you. Email us in at thatblindtechshow@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and get you the contact person that you need to reach out to. We don't want to give out his name publicly, but if you are still having a cable company that is not providing you with accessibility, it's 7 months into this. Let us know. We'll get you the right info and get you who you need to be talking to with the FCC. They're getting ready, I think, to start actually finally handing out fines, which is the only way things change.
Brian, I've always admired your proactiveness on getting involved in this stuff and connecting people up with where you can get real answers and real results. So kudos to you. I really like that about what you do.
I appreciate that. I believe I love going after people when they're just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. These are million, if not billion-dollar companies and everything, so there's no excuse. And along with being an advocate for accessibility, as you know, Jeff, I am a fantasy football fan.
Yes, you are.
And it's getting close to that time of year, and we will be having a continuation of last year, but we will be having the Blind Abilities Fantasy Football League, and we may have an opening or two. So if you are interested in getting into the league, reach out to us at either through Twitter, probably best to email us in, but Twitter, again, I'm going to have to get used to this, at Blind Tech Show. The email is thatblindtechshow@gmail.com. Put in the subject fantasy football. We had a lot of fun last year. It was, I believe, a 12-team league. Your buddy Nick and my fellow cohort at Blind Abilities, Nick D'Ambrio, won the league last year. And Nick's looking forward to defending his title this year, those damn Montreal Beavers.
He doesn't shut up about it. Every time we talk about fantasy football, he always reminds us, who the reigning champion is, which is Nick D'Ambrosio. I tell you, he won it.
Yeah, he won it.
Got to give it to him.
He won it. Well, in the Blind Abilities Fantasy Baseball League, which we started, I keep flip-flopping with first place, so I'm looking pretty good in that league. But we're looking forward to having a ton of fun. We had a ton of fun in the league last year. I know we have at least 10, if not 11, of the 12 people returning from last year, and we might expand the league to a few more teams to get a few more people in there and everything. And it was a lot of fun, and I'll just put the disclaimer out there. Fantasy sports is the world's greatest waste of time. So it's a lot of fun, but it is a great waste of time. And Jeff, it's weird because we're getting to the end of the first episode of That Blind Tech Show.
That blind tech show. That blind tech show. That blind tech show.
And I'm just excited because you've got a list of people who are coming on the co-host. I'm excited because it's just connecting the community all the way across the states here. And, it's something that you wanted to do, and you're often doing it.
We are. And I think I could talk about who our next co-host will be. Allison Hartley. A lot of you may be familiar with her. She's been on a lot of podcasts. She's on the Tech Doctor podcast as well. And she's a big fan of all things tech, and I'm looking forward to having her on the show. And Jeff, you were the one that came to us with this idea, and I guess we're off and running.
Yeah, my idea was just getting a hold of you and seeing what you wanted to do, and this is yours. This is your baby, and I like that you're doing it. I can talk some tech, but I just skim the surface. You're right in it. You wiggle right down in it, and you smell like tech.
You smell like tech. You are that tech. Well, all I have to say on that note is hopefully we don't get a review coming in. Wow, that first episode really stunk.
Like tech.
So if you remember what your mom told you, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't tweet us at all. And for now, we are out.
That Blind Tech Show with Brian Fischler. The fabulous Brian Fischler, with co-hosts from across the nation. That Blind Tech Show.